Today, we view the British royal family as polite, constitutionally bound figureheads waving from balconies. But for centuries, this ancestry ruled through absolute divine right authority, a power enforced strictly by the edge of a sword. In 1066, a Norman duke named William the Conqueror industrialized that violence. After taking the throne, he began a campaign to physically subjugate the local population, turning a military conquest into a permanent state of occupation. To lock his grip on the land, William scarred the landscape with hundreds of stone fortifications, like the White Tower in London. These weren't just homes for the elite, they were unyielding garrisons designed to remind the populace who owned the territory. Financial dominance followed physical control. The Doomsday Book cataloged every inch of the realm, down to the individual livestock on a farm, creating a royal database that allowed the crown to tax its subjects with chilling efficiency. The modern British state wasn't the result of a democratic master plan. It was the product of a series of accidents, moments where absolute monarchs pushed too hard, panicked, and inadvertently handed their authority to the people. By 1215, King John had tested the limits of that power and failed. After bankrupting the treasury and losing his family's ancestral lands in France, he alienated his barons so effectively they brought their armies to his doorstep. To prevent an all-out civil war, the king was forced to sign a peace treaty that would outlive his dynasty. This ancient parchment, written in dense Latin script, is the Magna Carta. Buried in these lines was a legal shift that broke the king's monopoly on power. For the first time, it was written that the crown was subject to the law, rather than the author of it. Decades later, King Henry III made similar mistakes. His attempts at tyrannical rule covered another rebellion, leading to his capture by a noble named Simon de Montfort. Holding the king hostage, Montfort needed to legitimize his new government. He summoned common knights and burgesses for a parley, or discussion. That single meeting formed the blueprint for the first English Parliament, now housed in the Palace of Westminster. Later monarchs like Edward I grew to rely on this parliament. They found that to fund their massive foreign wars, they needed the financial buy-in of the commoners, a necessity that slowly traded royal authority for tax revenue. Military failure and financial desperation forced the monarchy to compromise, trading away pieces of its absolute legal authority just to survive. In 1348, a pathogen arrived that did more to equalize society than any army. The Black Death claimed the lives of up to half the population of England in just 5 years. The fallout was an immediate labor shortage. With fewer hands to work the fields, the ancient feudal system of serfdom began to fracture as the surviving peasants realized their labor was now a rare commodity. Surviving landowners pivoted away from crop farming and toward the lucrative wool trade, driving workers into urban trade hubs. This created a new social class. These were free laborers and wealthy merchants whose power came from capital, not from noble birth. As the peasantry gained the ability to negotiate for wages or migrate to the cities, the crown's ability to enforce total feudal subjugation slipped. Authority now had to compete with the newfound mobility of the workforce. By the 1530s, King Henry VIII was focused on a different kind of control. Obsessed with securing a male heir, he found himself blocked when the Pope refused to grant him an annulment from his first wife. Henry's response was the 1534 Act of Supremacy. In a bid for ultimate control, he broke from Rome and declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England. That decision subjected the nation to religious whiplash as Henry's children alternated between Protestantism and Catholicism, executing heretics with every shift. To survive this instability, each Tudor monarch forced Parliament to pass laws legitimizing their religious decrees, granting it a central role in faith. By seizing spiritual power, the Tudors had unintentionally cemented Parliament as the indispensable co-author of the state's authority. After Elizabeth I's death, the English and Scottish crowns peacefully unified under James I in 1603. He was crowned at Westminster Abbey, bringing the two kingdoms under a shared head of state for the first time. While the geographic borders of the realm had never looked more imposing, the new Stuart dynasty had inherited a throne that was structurally weakened. 3 invisible forces now boxed the king in: the precedents of common law, the influence of a wealthy merchant class, and the legislative chokehold of Parliament. Years of religious manipulation had also left a radicalized Catholic minority. In a dark Northamptonshire inn, A small group of men began plotting a fiery rebellion against the Protestant crown. Over 8 centuries, the tools used to enforce absolute power had been dismantled from within. The stage was finally set for an explosive clash between the crown and its people.